Hey, this is Sam Black with my first match with Dredgevine in Modern. I'm on play. I think this is a hand that I can keep. I don't have a Dredge card, but I do have a Satyr Wayfinder to try to get going. Plus I have a lot of cards in my hand that are actually good spells, which I assume is a plus. Playing against Infect. I'm going to lead with... I don't think my opponent's going to kill my creature. So I was planning to lead with Satyr Wayfinder if my opponent played like Scalding Tarn so that I could have regeneration mana for Lotleth Troll. One advantage leading with Wayfinder is that if I hit a Grave Troll I get to start dredging first if that's what I want to do. On the other hand, if I lead with Lotleth Troll, I get a faster clock going, and I can still Wayfinder and turn on Cut next turn. But ultimately, I think the faster clock in this instance means one more damage, so I think I prefer the Satyr Wayfinder to try to get stuff in my graveyard going right away, in case I want to dredge or something. It's a pretty good graveyard. Got a little of everything. And Dark Blast also seems really, really good in this matchup. So I'm going to dredge Dark Blast, and I'm going to play Bloodstained. Well, let's see. I guess if the spells I'm casting are Dark Blast and Murderous Cut, then I only have to delve 3 on the Murderous Cut, and I can get rid of my lands and leave the 2 relevant cards in my graveyard. And this is an untapped land now that becomes a tapped land later. So I guess I'll lead Blackleaf Cliffs and attack. I'm going to have to decide if I want to have 2 removal spells represented. I think the answer is yes. Yeah, I'm pretty sure I do. I think that this board state is quickly getting to the point where I'll be able to have mana to cast threats and leave up multiple removal spells, and I think my hand is really well positioned for this matchup, so I think it's best to just hang back and play safe. I'm willing to Dark Blast basically anything. It lets me do something productive while dredging. So I'll attack with the Wayfinder. I can still have 2 removal spells up while playing Lotleth Troll, and I don't have another land to develop further than this, so I think it's time to get another threat out. I do want to have 2 removal spells up, so I'm not going to play the Gravecrawlers this turn. I can do that next turn. and potentially get Vengevine with them, since it's 2 creatures that I can cast in 1 turn. If I dredge the Grave Troll, then I have a pretty good chance to hit a Vengevine. Overgrown Tomb. And dredge Grave Troll to try to find a Vengevine. And I did find Vengevine. So I'm gonna play both Grave Crawlers to get the Vengevine into play. Attack. And I don't see any reason not to discard the Grave Troll for an extra damage here. And now I just need to hope that 2 removal spells is enough that my opponent can't kill me. Obviously don't care about taking 1 damage. So this is a spot where it's good that I have 2 Murderous Cuts, and enough to delve for both of them. If I was on Murderous Cut Dark Blast, I'd have to Dark Blast here, and then my opponent could respond 2 more times to counter my 2 spells, potentially. Because I have 2 Murderous Cuts, I don't care how much toughness this creature has, and 7 is not enough Infect to kill me, and I'm definitely winning on my turn. So I can just let this resolve, and then take 7 unless my opponent does something. And then if my opponent does something, I can Murderous Cut, and my opponent can't stop 2 Murderous Cuts after spending another mana. Unless there's that to pump. So now I am dead to 2 things that make the creature untargetable. Or give protection or whatever. So I just have to hope my opponent doesn't have 2. Should be a combination of Vines and Apostle's Blessing, or whatever. Okay, didn't have any. So, I don't want Gnawed the Bone, that's for sure. I definitely do want Spellskite. Actually, a lot of these cards look pretty good. Ancient Grudge is tempting, Golgari Charm is reasonable. Thoughtseize isn't bad. So let's look at what I can cut. I like a lot of my cards. I think Abrupt Decay is actually the wrong answer, because I don't care that it can't be countered, and not being able to hit lands is a really big problem. It's somewhat good that it can kill Wild Defiance, but I don't think that that card is super important. I think I want at least 1 Grudge to dredge into. Golgari Charm is interesting. think it's ultimately pretty bad, I guess, because my opponent's not going wide. This can kill a thing, but can easily be countered by mutagenic growth or something. It's probably the wrong way to go. And Maelstrom Pulse being a sorcery is a pretty real problem. Cards I'm most interested in are Thoughtseize and Ancient Grudge. Let's see, what else can I reasonably cut? Could cut Rotting Rats. It's kind of part of an engine with Gravecaller, but it also involves tapping a lot of mana on my turn. I'll do that. Put in a couple of Thoughtseizes. Since my opponent's kind of a combo deck and my life total doesn't really matter. I'm almost completely sure that this isn't the optimal configuration. Maybe I cut 2 Lotleth Trolls. I kind of want a clock, but it's not really that important, and I have other ways to get it. I don't need to go super fast. And this is mana intensive and doesn't interact. It's a little too fair, I guess is what I'm saying. We'll try this, but could easily not be optimal. This is not Manaless Dredge. This hand will not work. This hand is kind of terrible, actually. I don't have any way to discard this or do anything with this, or any way to interact. I have mana and spells, but this is not a keepable hand. This is a lot better. I don't do anything, but at least I can make it difficult for my opponent to kill me for a little while. My life total doesn't particularly matter, so we'll just pay it all. Two Blighted Agents and 2 protection spells. Sadly, I can't take both Blighted Agents before my opponent can cast one of them, but it's still correct to take one. Because the Spellskite can stop the vines, but not the Apostle's Blessing. Spellskite can't block, so let's just shred my opponent's hand. Take Vines. Taking one Apostle's Blessing now doesn't really accomplish anything. I'm actually just going to play a tapped land. I took Vines because I don't want my opponent to just cast it this turn and hit me for 5. So now my opponent's hand is 2 Apostle's Blessings. Definitely playing Spellskite. This thing is kind of annoying to deal with, but I don't think there's an urgent need to Thoughtseize one of the Apostle's Blessings. That doesn't really do anything for me. Interestingly, this is a spot where Golgari Charm would be good, because Apostle's Blessing doesn't interact with it at all. murderous cut's not currently getting me anywhere. This is something. I think I have to attack with it. It's possible that I should have thought seized there. Don't see any reason not to block here. Alright, now I'll thought seize. I guess I just take an Apostle's Blessing. This is probably the hand I should have expected. Yeah, I can just... I mean, my Spellscape's blanking all these other cards. I'm not going to play the land. I want to represent being able to do two things, even though two things doesn't really matter because of Blessing plus Spellscape. But it's closer to representing three things, I guess. Not that I really think that my opponent has a ton of options about how to play this. It's basically just try to race me with Blooded Agent. It's kind of the only thing that's going on. I'm still clearly blocking. I know my opponent's whole hand. My opponent gonna block with Nexus? You should agree with the Spellscape. I don't see any reason not to redirect that. Is the plan? Yeah, I don't know what's going on. Oh, are we just fighting over it? That's weird. Alright, well, I'll fight. Wait, my opponent responded to mine. So now it's targeting mine still? Sweet. might as well play this thing. It doesn't really accomplish much, but more than being in my hand. So now I go to 8 poison, and I'm currently dying. Let's see. If I cut the Spellskite, I think that's worth doing. So if I draw Ancient Grudge, then I can kill the Spellskite and attack with both of these. Glistener Elf has to block Vengevine, and then I can Grudge the Nexus. So Grudge wins. Vengevine is just short of winning. And my opponent goes to 1. And if I had something, I would be winning this, but I don't. It makes the obligatory attack and kills me. Alright, so that was a spot where I definitely got punished for not having pressure. Obviously that's going to happen more on a mull to 5, but that was a spot where having Thoughtseize instead of Loudlith Troll kind of cost me the game, because I drew a lot of Thoughtseizes, and Spellskite made the Thoughtseizes pretty irrelevant, and Loudlith Troll would have actually let me usefully race. So I don't know if that's the way that things are expected to go, but it's certainly an interesting data point that pushes toward not sideboarding the way that I did. So, when you don't really know what you're doing, it can be good to be results-oriented. Just, use the data that you have and adjust according to what it indicates, and then collect more data and see if it points back the other way. So we'll move more toward Loudlith Troll and away from Thoughtseize here, and try it like this. This hand is good enough. This Life from Loan isn't great, but Spellskite is. I have pressure into Spellskite, so that's a thing. Life from Loan lets me, I can just cast it for no value to start dredging, which might be what ends up happening here. I have a zombie to be able to return other grave colors that I find, which is actually relevant. Alright, so start by attacking. And Glistener Elf means that I want Spellskite in play soon. If my opponent didn't play a creature and I drew a land, I was probably going to Life from the Loam before Spell Skiting to start dredging, since Spell Skite's not relevant until my opponent can attack. However, Satyr Wayfinder is actually really good to get things moving, and it's very difficult for my opponent to kill me with 2 mana through a blocker, so I'm going to lead Wayfinder and play Spellskite next turn. And I hit Faithless Looting as far as action in the graveyard. Wooded Foothills is a start on this Life from the Loam. Alright, so my opponent sees that Spellskites are in the future and is therefore encouraged to use any pump spells available right now, but of course I'm going to be blocking no matter what, if I can. Bladed Agent, no attacks. I am interested in killing Bladed Agent. Well, my opponent is tapped out. That sounds lovely. Let's get a Spellskite down. Let's get Blood Crypt, pay 2 life, and then I can discard Blood Crypt to axe the Bladed Agent, which I think is worth doing, but let's start by attacking with Gravecrawler, I guess. I guess Satyr Wayfinder will stay back to block the Glistener Elf. I might be wrong. I might have thrown away damage for no reason. Maybe I just don't care about blocking the Spellskite. Especially since I have another Spellskite, I can just distribute minus counters on them, and it's no big deal. Anyway, I think that's the one I'm doing. That's the way that's indicated on Magic Online. It's kind of funny. Sure. So now we're in a game state that's very similar to the previous game, except that I have pressure, which kind of changes everything. So here, I could Faithless Looting, or I could Life from the Loam. And the thing that I like about Life from the Loam is that it lets me also play Spellskite while developing my mana. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to attack with Wayfinder here, since, like I was saying last turn, I don't know that there's really any problem with blocking with Spellskite, especially now that I'm going to have 2 of them. Yeah, I don't have anything. Can't do anything about that. dredge. Hit a bunch of lands. So I could Life from Loam, back 3 lands, and then Faithless Looting, and dredge the Life from Loam. That sounds pretty good. Yeah, I think I'm into that. Though, if I just cast Faithless Looting, then I could potentially cast a spell that I draw. But I don't know how much that matters. I think I'm basically trying to set up a win next turn. Remembering if there's another land that I can find, and there should be one more Overgrown Tomb, so I'll play Wooded Foothills. And then I'll flashback Looting. And I'm going to dredge this to see if I can hit a Grave Troll to dredge with the second one. Didn't. So discard some lands. Oh, I should have discarded Grave Troll. That was a mistake. Anyway, attack. Alright. I really wish I'd discarded this Grave Troll. Because then I could dredge it and cast it, and it would be bigger than it will be now. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Huh. I guess 2 hits from this and 1 hit from this is still lethal. So I guess that's what we're doing. And I could have brought back a Gravecrawler, but I wanted to hold Murderous Cut up in case of I don't know what. Might have been wrong. But I don't think it's going to matter. The Gravecrawler doesn't really change my clock. Either way, this gets jumped, and either way, I think my opponent's going to die next turn when there are more Gravecrawlers. I guess I might as well try to Murderous Cut this thing. All right, cool.